Hi, good morning. This video is for Monday. We're going to be on lesson 81, page 394. Is a relatively short lesson, so I'm going to try to combine the lesson with the problem solving. So here we go. All right, a percent is actually a fraction with the denominator of 0, okay? And so if you look at your books, follow along. Instead of writing the denominator 100, we write the percent sign, which is there in your book. So 25 over 100 equals 25%. So if we were to write 3 and 100th as percent, this is what it would look like. 3 over 100 would be converted into, I think I went out of the camera range, 3%, okay? Something a little interesting that you might like to see. We learned in a previous lesson, or 2 lessons ago, that per means each, okay? So that's our suffix here. And then cents, or centie, means 100, okay? So per 100. Just a little interesting side note. I don't think that's in the lesson, but I just noticed it as I was writing it. Thought you might like it too. Anyway, all right, so we're converting 3/10 into a percent, okay? In order to do that, I can erase this. We take 3/10 and we're looking for the number for the numerator, that will go over 100. So 10 times what equals 100? Well, we know that 10 times 10 equals 100, and whatever I do to the denominator, I can do to the numerator. So 3 times 10 equals 30. So now I have my fraction, okay? Remember we talked about a percentage is a fraction with a denominator of 100. Now my numerator can be turned into a percentage, 30%. All right? Same thing here. We have 1, okay? 1 represented as a whole is 100 over 100. So we take our numerator, okay? And it becomes a percentage, 100%, okay? 100% of the whole, so 1 whole. Then we have another form of fraction here. We've got 15 over 30. We're trying to convert this fraction into a percentage, okay? So I've reduced this fraction to 1 over 2. You could do it multiple ways, but this is the way I did it. So 15 over 30 is reduced down to 1 over 2, okay? Now I've got 1 and 1/2, and this is the number I'm looking for. So 2 times what equals 100? Well, 2 times 50 equals 100. Whatever I do to the denominator, I can do to the numerator. So 1 times 50 equals 50. So now I've got 50 over 100. A percent is only a fraction, or a percent is a fraction with the denominator of 100. So now I have found my fraction, or my percentage, based on this fraction, 50 over 100, okay? So whenever you see the 100 and you're asked to convert it into the percentage, just look at the numerator, okay? So in this case, 30 over 100, very easy. Because it's already in, its denominator is already 100, you don't have to do anything else. You just take the numerator and that becomes a percentage. So 30 over 100 is 30%. 1 over 100 is 1%. But now we run into a problem like this, where they ask you to turn 1 over 10 to a percentage, okay? So now what do? I set up my problem. Okay, I'll erase this. I set up my problem with a 100 and with the missing numerator, because that's what I'm looking for. So 10 times what equals 100? So I see that 10 times 10 can equal 100. So now I multiply the 10 by the numerator as well. So 1 times 10 is 10. So my 10 is a percentage. Okay, now because I have the denominator of 100, I know my percentage. Same thing for the next one, 30 over 50. I see what times 50 equals 100. So 2 times 50 equals 100. So whatever I did to the denominator, I'll do to the numerator. So 3 times 2 is 6. Therefore, I see that it is 6%. Okay, same thing is true for E. 25 times 4 equals 100. So I'm going to multiply my 7 by 4 as well. That gives me 28. And then the last one here, 5 times 20 equals 100. So since I multiplied the denominator by 20, I'm going to multiply the numerator by 20 as well. So 2 times 20 is 40, and that gives me 40%. All right, I'm gonna slide my camera over. It's on the stand now, which is really cool, but it like vibrates whenever you move it. So I'm just gonna run over there, pick it up, and we'll continue on with the problems. Problems will be on the next page, 395, I believe. Okay, look at that, smooth transition. No camera fall, nothing like that. And we're back. All right, so number one, write the decimal number 21 and 500ths, okay? So 21, fairly easy to pick up on that, but then 500ths, okay? We're not given any information about the tenths place, but we are given information about the hundredths place, 500ths, okay? So we make sure the 5 is in the hundredths place, but because we're not given any information about the tenths place, we simply put a 0, okay? Number a cubit is about 18 inches. If Reuben was 4 cubits tall, about how many feet tall was he? So first we need to solve inches, and then we'll solve feet. So I have 18 times 4, he's 4 cubits tall. So I multiplied 18 times 4, that gives me 72 inches. We know that there are 12 inches in every foot, so I multiplied 72 divided by 12, and that equals 6. So my final answer is 6 feet. All right, we've converted from inches to feet. Next, we're changing write 90% as a reduced fraction, then write the fraction as a decimal number, okay? So we know that a percent, okay, 90%, is a fraction with a denominator of 100. So I write 90 over 100, then I reduce it, okay? So 9 over 10 is my reduced fraction. So this is my reduced fraction, but now they've asked us to turn it into a decimal, okay? Very simple. A fraction is a division problem with the denominator being the dividend and the numerator being, with the denominator being the divisor and the numerator being the dividend. So I make 10 my divisor and I make 9 my dividend. I go ahead and write it in there. 10 does not go into 9, so I write a 0 and I place a decimal point and I line up my decimal points, okay? And now I see how many times 10 goes into 90. Well, it goes into it 9 times, so 9 times 10 is 90. I subtract it. So 9/10ths in decimal form is 0.9. Another way to do that. 10 is in the tenths place. Follow along? Good. Next. Number 7. Write 9/25ths or 9 over 25 as a percent. Okay, so I set up my problem to where this is blank. Okay, the way you can set yours up is 9 over 25 equals, you put a line and put your denominator as 100 and leave this blank. So first you see 25 times what equals 100. In this case, 25 times 4 equals 100. Think 4 quarters equals 100 cents, which equals $1. Okay, so whatever I did to my denominator, I will do to my numerator. 9 times 4 is 36. So that gives me the answer. The numerator of this problem will be my final answer, 36%. And then number 9, I kind of squash everything in there when I had like all the space to work with. Sorry about that. But we've got 3 and 5/6. Oh no, I'm sorry, we're finding a missing number if I'm not mistaken for number 9. Yes, we have W minus 3 and 5/6. Like we learned last week when we're looking for the first number. When the first number of a subtraction problem is missing, we take the difference and we add it to the number that we do have. Okay, so we have 3 and 5/6 plus 2 and 1/3. When adding fractions, we need to make sure that the denominators are the same. Okay, so we look for the greatest common factor between 3 and 6, and we find it quite easily because it's 6. Okay, so in order to make my denominator 6, I need to multiply it by 2. So I set up my fraction. Remember, anytime I multiply the denominator by a number, I have to multiply the numerator by the same. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 2 times 1 is 2, and my whole number remains the same. And then I just transferred my 3 and 5/6 over here. So now I can add them. I've got 5/6 plus 2 over 6, which equals 7/6. And then I've got the whole number 3 plus the whole number 2, which gives me 5. Now I have an answer, 5 and 7/6. But if you pay attention, 7/6 is an improper fraction, and I need to change that. I need to fix that, okay? So what I did here, again, remember, your denominator is your divisor, your numerator is your dividend. So go ahead and divide that. You see that 6 goes into 7 one time evenly with the remainder of 1. And we write the numerator as a fraction 1/6. So we take 1 and 1/6 and we can add it to 5. So now we have 6 and 1/6. I hope that wasn't confusing. Like if you guys were here, I'd slow down and see like if you guys got it. But you guys aren't here. So just leave a comment if this was really confusing. We can slow down. I can make a video where we just slow down and go over problems like these. But for now, on to the next one. All right, number 11, okay? We have 1/2 plus 1/5 plus 1/10. These three fractions are in an addition problem. That means all three of these, there's a fly. All three of these need to have a common denominator, okay? So we need to find the greatest common factor between 2, 5, and 10. But it's already presented to us, number 10, okay? So we simply transfer over, or we can multiply 1/1, which gives us 1/10. And now I need to see, what do I need to multiply 5 by to get a denominator of 10? I need to multiply it by 2. But because I multiplied the denominator by 2, I need to multiply the numerator by 2 as well. So now I've got 2/10. And then to get a denominator of 10 here, I need to multiply it by 5. And because I multiplied the denominator by 5, I must multiply the numerator by 5 as well. So now I've got 5/10 plus 2/10 plus 1/10, which gives me 8/10. And now I need to reduce that fraction. There's a lot of things we need to do here. All right, so I need to see which number goes into both of these numbers evenly. So I find that 2 does. So 2 goes into 8 4 times evenly, and 2 goes into 10 5 times evenly. 4/5 cannot be reduced any further, so 4/5 is your final answer. Next, we have 6 divided by 1 and 1/2. Okay, so I represented my 6 as 6/1. Remember, when dividing or multiplying fractions, mixed numbers need to be changed into improper fractions. So this number, 1 and 1/2, is going to be changed to, okay, so I take 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So my improper fraction is 3/2. But because it's a division problem, division problems are changed into multiplication problems, and then we don't multiply this number, we multiply the reciprocal of this number, which is this number inverted, in this case 2/3. And now we can multiply the numerator and the denominator, 6 times 2. But before we do that, I almost missed it. You can cancel out the numbers that are available. So 3 goes into 6 2 times evenly. So now I simply multiply 2 times 2 equals 4. You could just go ahead and multiply it. So like 6 times 2 is 12/3, and 3 goes into 12 4 times evenly. You still get the final answer. But this is just a shorter way of doing it. All right, last but not least, we have 45/100, okay? And we've been asked to write 0.45 as a reduced common fraction. 0.45, 5 is in the hundreds place, that tells us our decimal, okay? So I write 45/100, but now I need to reduce it. I look for a number that goes into both of these numbers evenly, which is 5. So I divide both the numerator and the denominator by 5. 5 goes into 45 9 times, and 5 goes into 100 20 times. 9/20 cannot be further reduced, so 9/20 is your final answer. And that's the end of this video. I think this is the longest video I've ever made. All right, bye guys.